High Commander Trell stood at the massive window of his office, looking out at the 3 moons of the Empire's capital world. His 4-fingered hand tightly held a data pad containing information that made his scales tingle with worry. The humans were coming, and no one else seemed to care. "Sir, the Council has rejected your warning again," said Tom, his young intelligence officer. The boy's antennae drooped with disappointment. "They say humans are too primitive to be a real threat." Trell turned away from the window, his tail swishing in frustration. Primitive. They went from basic flight to space travel in less than 70 years. Show me any other species that has moved that fast. He walked to his desk, covered with reports about this strange species from a place called Earth. The reports painted a picture that kept him awake at night. While other species took thousands of years to develop new technologies, humans did it in decades. While others fought wars with honor and rules, humans fought to win, using any means necessary. "Tom, bring up the history file," Trell ordered. A large screen on the wall lit up with images from human history. "Look at this." In just 100 years, they went from fighting with simple guns and horses to creating weapons that could destroy entire cities. Their weapons grew 1,000 times stronger, while the Empire's only doubled in power. Tom moved closer to the screen, his young eyes wide. "But sir, they're confined to one solar system. The Empire spans thousands of worlds. How could they possibly be a threat?" Trell picked up another data pad. "That's what everyone thinks. But look at this." He showed Tom a series of sensor readings from the edge of Empire space. They're energy signatures. They're experimenting with faster-than-light travel. Our scientists said they were centuries away from that technology. They were wrong. "How do you know, sir?" "Because," Trell zoomed in on the readings, "these patterns match exactly what we see in our own FTL drives. They've already done it. They're not just experimenting anymore. They're perfecting it." The office fell quiet as Tom studied the readings. Outside, the capital city glowed with millions of lights, its citizens feeling safe behind the Empire's mighty fleets. But Trell knew better. He had spent years studying human behavior, their wars, their rapid growth. They didn't think like other species. "Sir," Tom suddenly straightened, his antennae pointing straight up. "New data coming in. Our deep space probes detected human ships testing something new. They're moving faster than our best ships." Trell rushed to Tom's station. The readings couldn't be right, but there they were. Humans had not only matched Empire technology, they had improved it. In months, not centuries. "Start recording," Trell ordered, moving to stand in front of his desk. His official uniform gleamed in the office lights as he prepared to make one final warning. "To the High Council of the Galactic Empire. This is High Commander Trell with an emergency report. The humans are no longer confined to their solar system. They have developed faster-than-light technology that exceeds our own capabilities. Their rate of advancement is unprecedented in galactic history. I have studied their military history. They do not fight for honor or territory alone. They fight for survival, using methods we would never consider. They adapt, improvise, and overcome challenges that would stop other species. The Empire must change its approach immediately. If we treat humans as primitive, if we underestimate them, we'd risk catastrophic defeat. They are not like other species we have encountered. They turn their weaknesses into strengths. They learn from every defeat. They never give up. I formally request an emergency council session. We must prepare for contact with humanity, not as superiors meeting primitives, but as equals meeting a potential threat. If we make enemies of humans, we risk not just defeat, but humiliation." "End recording," Trell said. He looked at Tom. "Send this to every council member. Mark it as highest priority." Tom's fingers flew over his console. "Sent, sir. Do you think they'll listen this time?" Trell looked back out at the moons. "For the Empire's sake, they better. Because if they don't, if we treat humans like we treat other primitive species," he let the thought hang in the air. In the distance, one of the moons glowed red in the dying sun. like a warning. The Imperial scout ship, Star Watcher, moved silently through the darkness of space. Captain Vale stood on his bridge, watching the strange ships on his view screen. They were ugly things, these human vessels, all sharp angles and exposed metal. Nothing like the smooth, beautiful ships of the Empire. "Sir, the human ships are hailing us again," his communication officer reported. Vale smiled, showing his pointed teeth. "Ignore them. Let them know their place in the galaxy." He had read the reports about these humans, but he wasn't worried like that fool Trell. How dangerous could a species be when their ships looked like they were built from scrap metal? Suddenly, his sensor officer jumped up. "Captain, the human ships, they're gone." "Gone? Did they run away?" Vale asked, already thinking about how he would report this victory. "No, sir. They just disappeared. Our sensors show nothing." Vale was about to respond when 3 human ships appeared right next to the Star Watcher, so close he could see the writing on their hulls through the bridge window. His crew gasped. No ship could move that fast or that quietly. "How did they?" Vale started, but his words were cut off by a new voice on his bridge. "This is Captain Miller of the Earth Ship Explorer. Since you won't answer our hails, we thought we'd come closer to talk." Vale spun around. A human stood on his bridge, appearing out of nowhere. It was shorter than Vale, with pale skin and no scales or proper defenses. Yet it stood there calmly, wearing a simple blue uniform with small markings on the shoulders. "How dare you?" Vale sputtered. "This is an Imperial vessel. You can't just—" "Actually, we can," Miller said, still calm. "Your shields only block energy we can see. We've been studying your technology for months. Now, shall we talk like civilized beings, or should we keep playing games?" Vale's crew stared at the human in shock. Their most advanced shields bypassed like they weren't even there. And that teleportation technology, it wasn't supposed to be possible at these distances. "What do you want?" Vale asked, trying to hide his fear. "The same thing we've been asking for the past hour, to talk. Your empire has been watching us. Now we're watching back. We want to establish diplomatic relations before things get complicated." Vale's second officer whispered in his ear, "Sir, we're detecting energy readings from the human ships. They're impossible. The power levels are off our scales." Miller smiled, clearly hearing the whispered report. "Those are just our civilian engines. Would you like to see what our military vessels can do?" The threat was clear, yet delivered so politely that Vale could barely protest it. He thought about Trell's warnings, which he had laughed at just days ago. They didn't seem so funny now. "The Empire does not negotiate with primitives," Vale said, trying to sound confident. Miller sighed. "Captain Vale, look at your sensors again. While we've been talking, 50 more of our ships have surrounded your position. Your sensors can't detect them yet, but—" He pressed something on his wrist, and suddenly Vale's screens lit up with ships. Hundreds of them. "Impossible," Vale whispered. "You can't have this many ships. You're just starting space travel." "That's what we wanted you to think," Miller said. "It's easier to prepare when your potential enemies underestimate you. Now, should I contact my superiors about starting diplomatic talks, or should I tell them the Empire prefers a more aggressive approach?" Vale looked at his crew, at his powerful ship that suddenly felt very weak, and at this human who had walked through his best defenses like they were nothing. I will contact Imperial Command about diplomatic talks," Vale said, his tail drooping in submission. "Excellent choice," Miller said. He touched his wrist device again. "I'll have my ship send over the details. Oh, and Captain, do tell Commander Trell he was right about us. We're not the primitives everyone thinks we are. We're just better at hiding our strength." With that, Miller disappeared, leaving Vale and his crew to stare at the fleet of human ships their sensors could now see. Ships that had been there all along, watching, waiting, and proving that everything they thought they knew about humanity was wrong. Very wrong. Admiral Gray of the Imperial Battle Fleet, Star Crusher, looked down at the small human colony on his view screen. It was nothing impressive. Just a few domed buildings on a rocky moon. His crew had told him about Captain Vale's warning, about how dangerous humans could be. But looking at this pathetic settlement, he couldn't believe it. "Send the message," he ordered. "Tell these humans they have 1 hour to surrender their colony or we'll destroy it." That should teach them to respect the Empire. His communications officer sent the message. The response came back almost immediately. "Sir," the officer said, "they're sending only 3 words. Big mistake, friend." Gray laughed. "Fire the warning shot. Show them our power." A beam of energy shot from his ship toward the colony. But instead of exploding near the dome as planned, it hit something invisible and disappeared. "Sir," his sensor officer shouted. "Energy readings everywhere. The colony, it's not what we thought." The small domes suddenly shimmered and vanished, revealing massive underground structures. Defense turrets rose from hidden bunkers, and in orbit around them, dozens of human warships appeared from nowhere. "Impossible," Gray whispered. It was a trap. "Admiral," his second-in-command said, "we're being hailed by the human commander." A human appeared on his screen, wearing a simple black uniform with silver edges. "This is Commander Reed of Earth Defense Force. You just attempted to attack a civilian research station. Under normal circumstances, this would be an act of war." The human's voice was calm, almost friendly. That made it even more terrifying. "You dare threaten an Imperial Admiral?" Gray shouted, trying to hide his fear. "I have the most powerful fleet in this sector." Reed smiled. "No, Admiral. You had the most powerful fleet in this sector. Look around." Gray's sensors suddenly showed his support ships going dark one by one. No explosions, no debris. They just shut down. "What did you do?" he demanded. "Remember that warning shot you fired?" Reed asked. "It wasn't just energy. It carried a computer virus. Your systems are now ours. Don't worry. We evacuated your crews to their escape pods first. We're not monsters after all." Gray's bridge crew started shouting as their controls stopped responding. Screens went dark. The mighty Star Crusher, pride of the Imperial fleet, was dead in space. "This is impossible," Gray said. "Our computer systems are secured. No one can hack them." "No one except humans," Reed corrected. "We've had years to study your technology. Did you really think those civilian ships you encountered were just for show? Every meeting, every scan you took of us, gave us more information. And now..." Gray's view screen showed his helpless fleet surrounded by human warships. They were nothing like the simple vessels they'd seen before. These were predators, built for war, bristling with weapons even he didn't recognize. "What do you want?" Gray asked, his voice shaking. "Want? We wanted peace. We tried diplomacy. Your Captain Vale understood the message and passed it up the chain. But you?" Reed shook his head. "You just had to prove how powerful the Empire was by attacking civilians. So now we'll send a message of our own." The human ships opened fire. Not at Gray's ships, but at empty space around them. The weapons tore holes in reality itself, creating swirling vortexes of energy. "These portals will take your ships, and your crews in their escape pods, back to Imperial space," Reed explained. "When you arrive, tell your leaders what happened here. Tell them how one small human colony defeated your entire fleet without firing a single shot at your ships. Tell them what happens when someone threatens human civilians." "And if they don't listen?" Gray asked. Reed's friendly smile turned cold. "Then next time, we won't be so nice about it." As his powerless ship was pulled into the portal, Gray thought about all the warnings he had ignored. About how humans fought to win, not for honor. About how they hid their true strength. The Empire had wanted to teach humans a lesson. Instead, they had learned one themselves. And Gray had a feeling the learning wasn't over yet. High Commander Trell watched the latest battle footage with a mix of horror and fascination. On his screen, a single human ship was dancing between 5 Imperial cruisers, its movements impossible by all known laws of space combat. The human vessel wasn't even a warship. It was a converted mining vessel, its drilling lasers now cutting through Imperial armor like paper. "Play the next one," he ordered Tom, who had been promoted after their warnings about humans proved true. The next video showed something even more disturbing. Humans had taken captured Imperial ships, stripped them down, and rebuilt them into hybrid vessels that combined the best of both technologies. They moved faster, hit harder, and had shields that adapted to any weapon used against them. "Sir," Tom said, his antennae twitching nervously, "the reports from the outer colonies are getting worse. The humans, they're not just fighting our ships. They're taking our own technology and making it better." Trell nodded. "How many ships have we lost this week?" 37 capital ships, over 200 support vessels. But that's not the worst part. Tom brought up a new report. "They're not just destroying our ships anymore. They're teaching our colonies." "Teaching them?" "Yes, sir. When they capture an Imperial world, they show the population how to improve their technology, their farming, their medical care. 3 Imperial colonies have already asked to join the humans officially." Trell walked to his window. The capital's 3 moons were still there, but now they bristled with defense platforms. The Empire was finally taking the human threat seriously, but it might be too late. "Show me the industrial report," he said. New images appeared on his screen. Earth's industrial might was something no one had expected. The humans had transformed their entire economy for war in less than a month. Civilian factories now produced warships. Car manufacturers built tanks. Even their entertainment companies were helping, using their computer graphics skills to create battle simulations and training programs. "Sir," Tom suddenly shouted, "new report coming in. The humans just did something impossible." The screen showed a massive Imperial dreadnought, the pride of Empire, facing off against what looked like a human cargo ship. The cargo ship should have been destroyed instantly. Instead, it opened its cargo doors and released thousands of tiny objects. "What are those?" Trell asked. "They're calling them smart dust, microscopic robots. They ate through the dreadnought's hull in seconds. The whole ship just fell apart." Trell felt his scales tingle with fear. The humans had taken the Empire's own nanite technology and turned it into a weapon no one had ever imagined. They didn't think like other species. They saw possibilities where others saw limits. "Any word from the diplomatic corps?" he asked. "Yes, sir. The humans sent another peace offer. They say they'll stop their advance if we recognize their independence and the independence of any colony that wants to join them. They're also offering to share some of their technological innovations." Trell laughed bitterly. "Share their innovations. They've already shared them, by showing us how vulnerable our superior technology really is." A new alert flashed on the screen. This time, Tom's antennae went completely straight, a sign of pure shock. "Sir, the humans just released all our classified military codes to every colony in the Empire. They say they've had them since the first contact. They just didn't want to use them until we forced their hand." Trell sat heavily in his chair. The humans had been playing with them all along. Every Imperial victory had been allowed. Every human defeat had been planned. They had been gathering intelligence, learning weaknesses, and preparing for a war they never wanted but were determined to win. "Send a message to the Council," Trell ordered. "Tell them if we don't accept the peace offer, the next demonstration of human capabilities won't be so gentle." As he looked out at the heavily defended moons, Trell wondered if even these defenses would matter. The humans had turned defeat into advantage, weakness into strength, and peace into a weapon more powerful than any warship. The storm wasn't coming anymore. It was already here. Grand Admiral West of the Earth Defense Fleet stood at his command center on Luna Base, Earth's moon, watching as 10,000 Imperial warships emerged from hyperspace. The massive hologram showing the solar system lit up with red dots representing enemy ships. It was the largest fleet in Imperial history. They really brought everything, his assistant said, fear creeping into her voice. West smiled. Good. That means we only have to teach them this lesson once. He pressed a button on his command console. All stations, execute Defense Plan Thunder. The Imperial fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their golden ships gleaming in the sunlight. Their energy weapons began firing at the few human ships visible in Earth's orbit, but the shots passed through empty space. Holograms, West said quietly. They're still shooting at holograms. The real human fleet was hidden in plain sight, using the Empire's own cloaking technology, modified and improved. As the Imperial ships pushed forward, they passed right through the human defensive line without knowing it. Suddenly, thousands of small objects appeared around the Imperial ships. They looked like chunks of space rock, ordinary asteroids that had drifted into the battle. The Imperial fleet ignored them. That was their first mistake. Execute Phase 2, West ordered. The asteroids cracked open, revealing they were hollow. Inside each one was a hybrid weapon, human AI combined with Imperial energy cores. They activated simultaneously, creating a web of energy that trapped the Imperial ships in place. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the enemy fleet is trapped in our containment field. Their engines are unable to move in any direction. West nodded. Show them what we learned from studying their ships. The human fleet decloaked, surrounding the trapped Imperial armada. But instead of opening fire, each human ship projected a beam of golden light, the same color as Imperial ships. Impossible. An Imperial commander's voice came through on all channels. Those are our own energy signatures. Our shields can't. The shields of the Imperial ships began lowering automatically, their computers confused by what looked like friendly signals. In seconds, the greatest fleet in Imperial history was defenseless. This is Grand Admiral West to the Imperial fleet, West announced calmly. Your shields are down. Your engines are contained. You are surrounded. But we're not going to destroy you. There was silence on the Imperial channels. Instead, West continued, we're going to show you something. Look at your tactical displays. Specifically, look at Earth. The Imperial commanders watched as their sensors finally penetrated Earth's atmosphere. What they saw made even the bravest of them feel fear. Earth's entire surface was covered in defense systems. Every city had shield generators more powerful than Imperial technology. Every mountain hid missile silos containing weapons that combined human creativity with Imperial power. And in orbit, hidden by technology the Empire couldn't detect, were shipyards larger than anything in Imperial space. That's impossible, an Imperial commander said. You're a young species. You can't have built all this. We've had decades to prepare, West explained. Every time you thought you were studying us, we were studying you. Every time you thought you found our limits, we were learning yours. We didn't want this war. We still don't, but we made sure that if it came, we would be ready. He pressed another button, and suddenly every Imperial ship received a massive data transfer. We just uploaded the complete technical specifications of everything you're seeing, West said. Take this knowledge back to your empire. Show them what humans can do. Show them why starting a war with us would be a mistake. The containment field dropped. The human fleet pulled back, leaving a clear path for the Imperial ships to retreat. The choice is yours, West said. You can attack Earth and lose your entire fleet, or you can go home with proof that humanity is not to be underestimated. Choose wisely. One by one, the Imperial ships turned around. They had come expecting an easy victory over a primitive species. They left knowing they had almost started a war they couldn't win. And on Luna Base, Grand Admiral West watched them go, hoping they had finally learned their lesson about underestimating humanity. The Imperial Council chamber, usually a place of order and tradition, had descended into chaos. High Commander Trell watched from his seat as council members shouted at each other. The news spreading across the Empire was causing panic. 20 imperial worlds had just declared their independence in a single day. Order, the head counselor shouted, his scales turning pale blue with stress. We must maintain order. But order was already breaking down. On the massive screens around the chamber, reports kept coming in. The Empire's oldest colony, Starhaven, had just signed a defense treaty with Earth. The richest mining world, Deep Core, was asking for human teachers to help improve their technology. Even the Imperial Academy's best students were openly praising human innovation in their classes. "This is your fault, Trell," one of the council members pointed at him. "You warned us about the humans. You made us fear them." Trell stood slowly, his old scales creaking as he moved to the center of the chamber. "No," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. "The humans didn't make us fear them. They made us see ourselves clearly for the first time." He pressed a button on his comm unit, and new images appeared on the screens. They showed human ships helping Imperial colonies improve their farms with new technology. Human doctors teaching Imperial medics better ways to heal. Human engineers working side by side with Imperial workers to build better homes, better ships, better lives. "Look," Trell said, "the humans could have destroyed us. They could have taken our worlds by force. Instead, they're showing us a better way, and our people are choosing to follow it." "But our traditions," another council member protested. "Our ways have served us for 10,000 years, and in just 10 years, the humans found ways to improve them all." Trell replied, "They don't want to destroy our traditions. They want to help us grow beyond them." The chamber's doors suddenly opened, and Tom rushed in, ignoring all protocol. "Sir, big news from Earth." All eyes turned to Trell's assistant as he connected his data pad to the main screen. A new image appeared. A human diplomatic ship landing at one of the Empire's most secret military bases, but instead of weapons or soldiers, it was unloading crates of medical supplies and educational materials. "They're giving away our most closely guarded secrets," the military commander shouted. "No," Trell corrected. "They're giving away their secrets. Look closer." The crates contain plans for improved food production, better medical care, more efficient energy systems, things that could help every citizen of the Empire live better lives. The humans weren't just winning a war. They were winning hearts and minds. "Commander," Tom said, "there's more. The human ship's captain. It's Captain Miller. The same one who first contacted us. He's requesting to speak to the council." The screens changed to show Miller's face. He looked older than when Trell had first seen him, but his eyes still held that same calm confidence. "Honorable Council," Miller said, "we've demonstrated that we can fight if we must. Now let us demonstrate how we can help. Earth is proposing a new alliance, not as rulers and subjects, but as partners. Equal partners." The council chamber went quiet. Centuries of tradition said this was impossible. Primitives didn't become partners. They became subjects or enemies. But humans, as always, were different. "The choice is yours," Miller continued. "But know this. Every world that joins us willingly will receive our full support. Every citizen who wishes to learn will be taught. We offer friendship freely, but we will not be ruled." Trell looked around the chamber. He saw fear in some faces, anger in others. But in many, especially the younger council members, he saw something new. Hope. "The Empire stands at a crossroads." Trell said to his fellow council members, "We can cling to our old ways and watch our worlds leave us one by one. Or we can learn from humanity's example and grow into something greater than we ever imagined." The future of the Empire would be decided here, in this chamber. But for the first time in his long life, Trell wasn't worried. The humans had taught them all that change wasn't something to fear. It was something to embrace. 5 years after the Empire's failed attack on Earth, the capital world looked very different. Human ships now docked freely at the space stations orbiting the 3 moons. Imperial citizens walked side by side with humans in the streets, many wearing clothes that mixed both cultures' styles. And in the tallest tower of the Imperial Palace, An old commander prepared to give his final speech. High Commander Trell stood at his window one last time, looking at the city he barely recognized. Sleek human-designed vehicles flew between the traditional Imperial architecture. Public screens showed news from both Earth and Imperial worlds. Even the air was cleaner, thanks to human environmental technology. "Are you ready, sir?" Tom asked. His former assistant was now an ambassador to Earth, his antennae decorated with both Imperial and human diplomatic symbols. "Almost," Trell said, picking up a small box from his desk. Inside was a medal, the first of its kind. The Warning Medal, created to honor those who spoke uncomfortable truths when others wouldn't listen. The ceremony hall was packed with beings from across the galaxy. Imperial Council members sat next to human diplomats. Military officers from both sides shared stories and laughs. On the walls, screens showed the ceremony being broadcast to every world in both Earth and Imperial space. Trell walked to the podium, his old legs supported by a human-designed medical brace that had given him years more active service. The room fell silent. 5 years ago, he began, I stood in the council chamber warning about the dangers of underestimating humanity. Today, I stand here to thank them for proving me both right and wrong. The crowd looked confused. Even the humans present tilted their heads. I was right that humans were more powerful than we knew. Right that they could defeat our best ships, bypass our strongest defenses, and overcome any obstacle we put in their path. But I was wrong about the most important thing. He looked at Captain Miller, now Admiral Miller, sitting in the front row. I was wrong about them being a danger. Humans didn't want to destroy us. They didn't want to rule us. They wanted to help us grow. And they have. The screen showed images from across the galaxy. Imperial ships now flew faster and farther thanks to human innovations. Imperial children learned in schools that taught both cultures knowledge. Imperial hospitals saved more lives using human medical techniques. In 5 years, we have advanced more than we did in the previous 500. Not because humans forced their ways upon us, but because they showed us a better path and let us choose to follow it. Trell held up the medal box. This new medal isn't just about warning others of danger. It's about having the courage to speak truth when truth is difficult. It's about seeing beyond our fears to find friendship in unexpected places. And today, its first recipient is not me. He turned to Admiral Miller. This medal goes to humanity for showing us that true strength isn't in weapons or ships or technology. It's in the wisdom to use power not for conquest, but for growth. Not for dominance, but for partnership. Miller walked up to accept the medal, but instead of taking it, he did something unprecedented. He hugged the old Imperial commander. The crowd gasped, then broke into applause. It was a moment that would be remembered for generations. And now, Trell said after Miller returned to his seat, I announce my retirement. My last official act was signing the Treaty of Equal Peoples, making Earth and the Empire official allies with equal status under galactic law. He looked out at the mixed crowd, at the beings who once would have never sat together. Let this be remembered as the day we stopped seeing humans as primitives to be ruled or enemies to be feared. This is the day we finally saw them as they truly are. Friends who make us better than we ever dreamed we could be. As Trell left the podium to thunderous applause, he saw young Imperial children playing with human kids in the garden outside. They were building something together, combining pieces from both their worlds to create something new, just like their peoples had done. And that, he thought, was the greatest victory of all.